Hello. I think I said for the first time in the newsletter, hello, swans. And that is what we are, isn't it? We are beautiful swans. It's Friday, and I'm Carolyn with Swan City Yarns. So, yeah, welcome. And I'll say it again. If you haven't already subscribed, I would love for you to do so. It helps me out, also helps you out, especially if you hit the bell for notifications so that YouTube lets you know whenever I put something out. And I have been doing quite a few shorts. This week has been a little dry in the shorts arena because I've been taking it a little bit easier with the holidays. But nonetheless, I've been doing some fun shorts. So if you want to know about those, you probably have to subscribe. So how is everybody? Did y'all have a good Christmas? I hope so. I want to know if you got any fibery gifts of any ilk. So in the comments, let me know if you did. Let's see what all you're saying. Yes, happy Friday. Hi, Carol. Oh, yes, a surprise for holiday week. Gotta love it. Hey, Karen. And Valera's here, and Katrin and Cindy B. And I know I saw Laura. Hey, Evie. How's it going? I got to get back with you. By the way, I was just talking to Bo about that. Yeah. So how's everybody's weather? I know we're having some very gloomy weather, but it seems to me that this is very common for us during Christmas, the week of Christmas, kind of gloomy, not really cold, not really hot, just kind of. So it's been very foggy here today, which is odd for this late in the day for it to be so foggy. Yeah, but so y'all have to let me know how your weather is. Well, okay, I don't know what that is, Cindy. You'll have to like post a picture. Oh, is that a crafting pillow? Is that something you can sit in your lap and craft on? That sounds excellent if that's what it is for sure. Hey, Star. Hello, Deborah Sue. Yuck in Tulsa. Oh, yeah. Well, it is that time of year. I don't know how this in between weather for me is I never know how to dress because I'll be cold 1 minute and then hot the next. And so I'll put on my knit socks and then I'll get hot and have to take them off. And then later on I get cold and I'm like, what do I do with my socks? And they're laying here and there and all over the house or the dye studio. So yeah, or in the mornings it's cold and then at nights it's cold, but then during the day it warms up and I don't know. It just, yeah. You would think with the air conditioning and we have the heater set as well, but I guess there's a big enough range between when the heater kicks on and when the air kicks on that there's definitely a chance for me to feel hot and cold all in the same day. And I don't care for that, I have to be honest. Just give me one or the other would definitely be better. Ooh, 60s for Carol. Wow, that's good. I see now I think 60s is a good temperature. It's cool enough that I would keep my knits on for sure, but that's because I'm now a Florida girl. No fiber gifts. Okay, a stretch knit top, very nice. Oh, granny squares. That's awesome, Laura. Sorry, I'm reading comments. So Laura said that she got a stretchy knit top from Will and the pattern on it was granny squares. That's very cool. I would like to see what that looks like. And then, okay, so that's a good idea. Save your December purchases to open for Christmas. So you got some sock sets. Oh, bits and bobs to start the new year. I like that. Very good. All right. Okay. So yeah, nice lap pillow. That's cool, Cindy. Yes. Bo didn't get any fiber gifts either. I'll teach him how to knit. That's the only fiber gift he needs is to learn how to knit for me. I will show you, I posted a picture in the Swan City Stitchers. I got some spinning books. So this one, the Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs, which I've already tabbed a few. Yes, my spinning has kind of been put on hold since I've been so busy with starting Swan City Yarns. And so it's been a little bit on hold, but I was already looking through and I'm looking forward to getting back into it. And then there was also this one, Yarnitecture, a spinner's guide to spinning, building exactly the yarn you want. And I also tabbed in here, the two places that I tabbed were basically about fiber prep. So, because there's a lot of confusion for me about woolen versus worsted and all that good stuff, plus how to blend your own yarn. Like, because I do have a blending board now that I bought myself a while ago, but I have yet to use. So I need to learn about that. And then this, of course, respect the spindle. That is all about spinning on a spindle, which I have a spindle as well. So I'm hoping that that will help me kind of maybe that looks like my yarn. I mean, that's not, never mind. That I guess I was feeling accomplished because I was like, oh, mine looks a little bit like that when it's on the spindle. So maybe I'm farther along than I thought. I was more feeling of like, oh, maybe I'm not so bad as I thought I was. Anyway, so yeah, I have a lot to do. Okay, Diane, it's thawing. Okay. And then Karen and oh yes, that's right. It is evening over in Scotland, isn't it? Yeah. Good evening for sure. And then oh, so if that you got your mom in a Tenty project bag, that's awesome. That's a good gift. And hey, Karen, 2 gifts from Swan City Yarns. That's what I'm calling them. They're Christmas gifts, right? And oh, I didn't know you were spinning, Yvette. That is excellent. All right. Hey, packages from Swan City. What more could you want? By the way, thank you all for the orders this morning. I saw that some of y'all already pounced on the new yarns, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But first, I have some announcements and things like that. So, hey, Bobby, that's all right. Better late than never. And anybody else that I missed, hello. I'm so glad y'all are here. And then, of course, for those who come by later, welcome. All right. So a couple of things. I've had a couple of people ask me if I'm going to do an Advent calendar next year. So after thinking about it and doing some searching online, I think yes, I am going to do an Advent. I'll do a regular 25 or a 24 day with a final skein that you open on Christmas Day. I think that's how I'll do it. And then something similar for Hanukkah. Maybe I think Hanukkah next year falls earlier than Christmas. So maybe for some people to do a shorter, something like that. We'll see. So, and I'm not sure yet when I'm going to release it. I need to do some planning. And it occurred to me, I don't really know. I haven't really paid attention to other dyers and when they release it. I know Christmas in July would obviously be a good time, but y'all might be thinking, well, no, I want to be able to buy it now. So if that's what you're accustomed to and you want to buy it now, let me know and I'll hop to it and I'll get my act together. I almost said a bad word there. But so I can do that. So that is in the works. I just haven't done a huge amount of planning for that. So yes, but I am excited. I think I already have a theme for the Advent calendar. I think it will be cool. All right. And then also don't forget, December Fiber Challenge is still going on. Anything that is either a gift, knit or crocheted or spin, whatever you're doing, weaving, or if it is Christmas themed, if you did a Christmas Day cast on. Somebody mentioned a New Year's Day cast on, and I thought, oh, that's a good idea to start the new year. I kind of like that too. Anyway, this is the prize. I've shown it before. It's a skein of Spindle Prick Red on Sparkly DK, and then Swan White on Fluffy Lace that you get if you are the winner. And every picture that you post is an entry. So you've still got plenty of time. You've got through the end of December. And then I think I said I would announce that winner. It'll be the very first Friday in January. And then we will start January's fiber challenge, which is, so January is usually known as Selfish Knitting Month. So we're going to call it Selfish Stitching. So anything that you're working on for yourself in January will qualify for that particular fiber challenge. I figure why not? We need to do some selfish knitting, right? After gift knitting. We can, and I say knitting, I mean stitching in general. So we can work on stuff for ourselves for sure. So that is coming up. And then, okay, so here's the deal. I wanted to, yes, Yvette. So you haven't given your friends their gifts yet? Oh, okay. I'm curious when you're going to do that. I saw what she got her friends. She picked a good colorway. Okay, Carol says she had an advent this year with 4 socks. Oh, that's cool. An advent set. Now I kind of, ooh, that is very interesting. I like that idea. An advent set. That way you don't have quite as many. I feel like sometimes with the longer advent calendars, how do I say this? It's kind of like some of the details get lost because there's so many things. And then you have all these minis and you're like, okay, I need one project for all of them. And obviously you don't, but depending on how they've been dyed up in the color scheme, you might feel the need to use them in one project. So, I don't see, now you got me thinking maybe I'll do something a little more creative, something a little bit different. We'll have to see. All right. So Karen, you over there, you launch in March or April to allow folks to pay up. You had 2 advent. Yeah. Okay. So I'm curious, did they offer payments? Is that, or just to give you time to get it paid off? Yeah. Weekly sock sets too. I kind of like that too. Or, something of the 4 advent. Okay. Now, see, you've given me something to think about. Okay. We'll get back to that then. All right. In the meantime, I did want to say for those of you who are knitting the Fleece Your Feet pattern, thank you so much. And I did have some questions come to me about Ravelry. So I thought we would do a quick tutorial on how to set up a project page on Ravelry. It's going to be pretty quick, but Ravelry is very user-friendly. So you should be able to watch along, or you can always come back later and because we're right at about 13 minutes, you can always come back to this timestamp and watch it and make your Ravelry page along with me as I make it. Some of you, though, first of all, some of you are going to be like, Carolyn, you don't even know what you're talking about because y'all know so much more about Ravelry than I do. But I know enough to cause damage, put it that way. So I thought what I would do is share my screen, and then I'll go to my Ravelry page and we'll create a Ravelry project page together so that you can see how to do that. It's actually very simple. The key to be entered into the giveaway for the Fleece Your Feet project page, you mainly just have to create a project page, and you do want to put a picture in it. But the key is you need to link the pattern to your project page. That's how it will show up, if that makes sense. And I'll show you where that happens. So let's go ahead and I like that, Laura. The swans have spoken. Indeed, the swans have spoken. I love it. Okay, so I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to share my screen here. And we are going to go over to my next tab. There we go. So I'm going to give it a second here. So this is the homepage of Ravelry. If you are, there we go. Yeah. So if you're in Ravelry, if you have an account, then this is what you see on your homepage, right? So when you come to, and I'm not going to, I'm just going to briefly mention some things. If you look along this top line, you see, if you click on Ravelry, that will always bring you back to this homepage. If you click on patterns, that lets you obviously search for patterns. You have yarns, community, support, there's advanced search, there's all sorts of things you can do. Over to the right, you see, well, there's your little message box. If somebody has sent you a message or an update to one of your patterns or something like that, I'll be honest. Oh, this is groups, or is that what that is? Obviously, I don't pay attention to, I think that's groups and your posts and things like that. Okay, the important one that I want to focus on today is my notebook. So in your notebook, you have, it says projects, queue, your stash. That's where you can log all of that stuff. And then your library down at the bottom is where your patterns are kept, obviously, once you buy them. Okay, so projects. If you click on projects, I'm going to click on projects, and you can see I actually have quite a few up at the top that are whips. Some that I have not put pictures on, but then as you scroll down, you can see these are all the projects that I have entered. Lots of socks. All right. So to add a project, it's actually super simple. And you simply come over here to the left. You'll see that kind of an aqua blue little button that says add a project. So you simply say add a project, and then you tell it, first of all, which craft, knitting, and they have room for others as well. Obviously, if you're doing Fleece Your Feet, you're going to be doing a knitting project. And then you name your project. So that's for you, not the name of the pattern necessarily. It can be. So let's say I say Fleece Your Feet. I might name it Bo's Fleece Your Feet if I'm making it for him, or, whatever. Maybe it's my third one, Fleece Your Feet 3, whatever. You name it however you want it to be seen later. And then I used a pattern. You'll click that or leave that click. That is automatically highlighted initially. And then you can simply put in your pattern name, which in this case is Fleece Your Feet. And then you hit continue, and it should, if there are other projects or other patterns with that name, then it will show them all and you choose the right one. So there you can see Fleece Your Feet. I made sure in this case I wanted to pick a pattern name that wasn't already taken by other people. So I got lucky with Fleece Your Feet, which is good because it uses alpaca fleece. All right, so if you use the yarn that's suggested in the pattern. So you simply over here to the right, it says choose this pattern. That's important for you to click on because that is what links it to my pattern. So, and that's what, when I click, when I go to the pattern page and I click on projects, your project page will now show up as one of the project pages. Okay. So you can add all sorts of information here, who it's made for, if you want a finish by date, if you have a goal. I like to always put the size in. I didn't used to do that, but I've learned now enough times on socks that I've done that I write down the size, because inevitably later on, I'm going to want to know, when I did that, what size did I make? So I would say size is pretty important. And here, right underneath pattern name, you'll see Fleece Your Feet, and it has a link. That's because it is linked to the pattern. If you ever need to change it or you got the wrong pattern, then you can come in here and change it there. And then, of course, you can, some important things I think that are important are add needle. You can add the needle size, especially if you didn't go according to the pattern. If you needed something different for gauge, then I think it's important to have needle size. I don't typically worry about gauge, but obviously that is definitely something that you can put there. And it's a good idea if you're a gauge swatcher to go ahead and put that in. And then, of course, add your yarn. Here's where you can add, for example, oops, if I'm doing, Swan City. So in this case, it's fluffy sock. And then if you click on the link, there you see it comes up. Click a link to the Ravelry yarn, fluffy sock. You can click on that. And then right underneath is then where you would add the colorway if you want. And then you can simply copy it. If you have another one, for example, this particular pattern calls for Trusty sock along with fluffy sock. So I'm going to link that again. And this, I'll be honest, it does help me if you add your yarns and you show that it's Swan City yarns. I'm just being honest there. It does help me because other people can see that you use my yarn. So that's always helpful. The purchase at and date and the total paid, those are not important for me because it's my yarn, but you might want to keep track of that. So you can definitely do that there as well. And then underneath project notes, I always like to, especially with socks, I typically will say, okay, this is how many rows I did for the foot, how many rows I did for the leg, stuff like that. And I'm especially going to talk about that today with the pair of socks that I'm knitting for Bo and why that's important for me. So, okay. And by the way, I have comments on another device. So if you all have any questions or if you have any other additional instructions that I'm missing, don't hesitate to comment because I can see those over there. All right. So that, and then up here on the right, you'll see some things like the status. If you're interested in participating in a yearly challenge that Ravelry does, you can set up like, okay, and I've been doing it for the last couple of years. If, you know, like I think for 2024, I said 16 projects and I'm on 15, by the way. So as soon as I'm done, I want to mark it finished. But in the meantime, it's just in progress. And I typically will put my start date down. And then when I'm done, I'll also put the end date just because I like to know how long it took me. I'll be honest, looking back, I don't typically go back a lot and look and see. And some of them I have to guess because I forgot to make my project page right away. And so I just guess on the dates. But when you're done, either at the top in this kind of aqua button up there or at the very bottom, you'll see another one. You can save your changes. And then that's now your project page. And sometimes if I don't get a picture added right away, you can always come back in and edit. You'll see up here, up towards the top, there's that little pencil and the edit button. You just click on that. You can add photos over here to the left. Those are obviously good for other people to see as well. So just a reminder for the giveaway that I'm doing for Fleece Your Feet. You can, if you have a project page, then that's an entry for the giveaway, the $50 gift card. And then if you actually finish your project, that counts as an extra entry. So, and if you do multiple socks, well, then you can have multiple entries. So there you go. Start all the project pages for all your socks that you're doing of Fleece Your Feet. And so, okay, Cindy says you can start the project directly from your queue if you have the pattern in your queue. Okay, that's interesting. I did not know that. So this is how I organize my notebook. I'm curious how y'all do it. In my queue are projects that I have looked at and admired and thought, I think that I want to make that in the future, or I might want to suggest it as a pattern or something like that. And I'll be honest, my queue gets neglected sometimes because I very much will be in the spur of the moment, see something that I want or some yarn that I want to knit with, and then I'll go find a project and I didn't pull it from my queue at all. But the queue does, like for example, I've been wanting to make a skirt. You can see I've got 3 skirts right up here in the first 3 spots because I've been keeping an eye out for skirt patterns because I am determined to knit myself a skirt. So I will do that eventually. And you can see over here, yes, you're right, Cindy, you can start a project right from there. Very cool. That's awesome. And then I'm assuming that it links the pattern right away for you. So that's very cool. All right. And then of course you can move these up and down, which that's not the purpose of today, but I just wanted to show you. And then the other thing that I use big time is my library. That's where all my purchased patterns are. And then any new things that I've gotten. So you can see right here, I may have bought the Year of Socks from West Knits. I'm going to be doing some serious sock knitting in 2025. At least that's the plan. So you can see the things that I have most recently bought. So yeah. All right. So that's basically it in terms of doing your project pages. Okay. So if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And let's see if I can go back. If I just X out of this, will it? Oh, I'll just stop sharing. There we go. Let's see where we at. There we are. All right. So that was it. And again, I know most of you're probably more seasoned at this stuff than I am. And I don't track my stash on Ravelry. But I'm probably in a different boat than a lot of people. So I'm always impressed by people who track their stash on Ravelry. I think that's very cool. Okay. Speaking of challenge, did any of you all did you challenge yourself in Ravelry to a certain number of projects? And if so, did you meet the challenge? I'm just curious. Like I said, I toned it down. I used to do like, okay, it was 2023. I'm going to do 23 projects, but I wasn't getting there. So for 2024, I said, okay, let's do 16 projects. And I could make it with my socks that I'm working on. But we'll see, because I have kind of gotten caught up on another project that I'm interested in. So we'll see if the socks actually get done. So that is impressive, Laura. 35 was your challenge, and you just finished number 36. I am in awe. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I get that, Carol. The thought of tracking your stash gives you anxiety. That's right. We don't need to be faced with the issue, do we? For sure, of how much you have in your stash. I get that. Yeah, to me, tracking my stash seems like too much trouble for the benefit that it would bring me. So that's not something I do, but I do like to look at projects, and I have found that it's the best way to keep track of what I did in the past and then any changes. For example, I keep wanting to knit another ranunculus. Well, and I might do it a little differently than I did my last one, but I don't keep my patterns when I'm done. They're in my library, but I don't keep the actual patterns with my notes on them. So it's helpful to have a project page where I can look and, okay, so this was the size needle that I used, and this is how many skeins of yarn it took. And so if I'm, then I can make adjustments accordingly. So I do like to have project pages for that. That to me is the trouble that it takes to set up a project page is definitely worth the benefit of the notes that I can use later on. All right, what's next? Ooh, okay. I get to show y'all and I noted, by the way, I've been loving y'all's whips. And so I might start showing some whips on here as well, so that we can ooh and ah over each other. Yes, Yvette, I'm drinking a brown wine. Oh, actually on my screen, it does look a little bit red. I should be drinking wine. I should start having happy hour Fridays at 1:00. But no, this is just iced tea that I had left over. It's a cold English breakfast tea that I brewed. And yeah, I prefer my English breakfast cold. So, but I should have some wine. But no, I've got too many other things to do today. I can't be drinking wine right now. Maybe later this evening I'll have some wine. All right, let me show you all what I have. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so socks. I think I had cast these on last week. Did I not have them? I'm pretty sure I did. These are the bear paw socks. Yeah, because I think I told you all that I'm marling them. I'm marling 2 colors from the winter collection. They are Cookie Crumbs on Trusty sock and Teal the Cows Come Home on Trusty sock. All right. And so here's what happened. So I cast them on. And so this is a toe up pattern. That's right, because we were talking about the Turkish cast on. And I really like the Turkish cast on. So I knit on it a little bit Friday night, last Friday. And then Saturday morning, I went there's a local group here over in Winter Haven and they're the Polk County Fiber Guild, which I have never been able to go to. They always meet on a Saturday. And as you all know, I used to always work on Saturdays. So I was never able to go. Well, I had a free Saturday with no trunk show or anything like that. So I went last week, and such a great group of ladies and fiber crafters. But when I was there, when I was done, this is the toe. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, this looks huge. I mean, it just looked like massive. And I'm like, so one of the ladies was looking at it and saying she liked it. And I said, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go home and have Bo try them on, because these are going to be for Bo. Once I'm going to use them as a show sample. at trunk shows for a while, but then eventually they'll be bows. They just look massive. So, and I only had the toe done. I think I was through this first section here. So I come home and I have Bo try it on, and it was too big. Now, so here's, and I realized later, because the lady said, "Do you not know how to measure?" Do you not know how to measure socks to get them to fit right or something along that line? And afterwards, I thought she probably thought this woman, she supposedly dyes yarn, but she doesn't even know how to knit properly. And because I was like, well, yeah, normally, but I mean, it was the right, I've got the right needle size. And I know that I picked the right size for bow, but my gauge must be way different because I will say that the pattern calls for a size 4 needle. And I was like, there ain't no way, even with the size that the toe that was too big, I was using a size 3 needle because that's what I knit DK socks with, is a size 3 needle. Just like if I knit fingering socks, size 1. You sock knitters know this. You know what size needle you use to knit socks on. That's just, you've learned, and that's your knitting gauge, right? So I knew that I needed a size 3. Well, got home, tried it on for bow, and I do realize when you're doing cuff down, your sock, you don't ever have a chance to try on the toe until your sock is completely done. And because of the way you measure it, the toe gets stretched. Do you know what I mean? And so but even when Bo tried on just the toe part of this, there was just a lot of extra room. And I've learned, I don't know about you all, I like my socks tight. They already say negative ease. I like mine with extra negative ease, because the thing about knits, and especially socks, the more you wear them, the more they stretch. So if you start out with positive ease, if I wear my socks one evening before bed, and then I, take them off, and then the next evening put them on, and then the next evening, they're stretched out, right? Like they're totally loose, unless you knit them tight to begin with good negative ease. Like, I don't know, like an inch negative ease is what I'm guessing. Well, and like my Fleece Your Feet, I did the smallest size for me, and they are nice and tight, and they stay tight, and that is how I like them. It also makes them easier to wear out in public. Now, I will grant you, Bo wears his socks mostly around the house. He works from home, and he doesn't have great circulation, so he wears his knit socks even more than I do. He'll wear them all day long. So, but he doesn't mind the bigger socks. But needless to say, having said all that, I tore out those socks, and I did, because initially I was doing the men's large. So I tore it out, and I'm doing the men's medium. So I started over, and this is how far I've gotten. Now, I will say this, when I had him try these on, they still felt a little bit loose, but I was like, well, we're going to keep going. And then, so here's the other thing. That looks massive, does it not? Because with this toe up, and I think this is actually the first toe up. Now, well, I did a stocking that had a heel, but obviously you don't try on a Christmas stocking. And I never have finished that. That's still a whip in timeout. So this is like the first sock that I've ever, a wearable sock, I believe, with a heel. I've done toe up socks that don't have the heel. They just have like that rotating knit pattern. And so that they fit pretty well on your feet. I forget the name of the pattern that I used. And actually, I really like that pattern, but I haven't made it in a while because I prefer my cuff down socks with short row heels. Needless to say, so this pattern uses a fleagle heel. And although it looks massive, you can see where my increases for the gusset basically started. And then what I thought was interesting, and I don't know if all other heel patterns are like this for toe up, but this section she calls the heel turn. And like I'm accustomed to, most toe down, and I don't have another, I didn't bring one with me, but let me show you my foot. Most of your cuff down socks, the heel turn is this section right down here. So you knit your heel flap, and then you do a heel turn right here, and then you pick up stitches along that heel flap and heel turn, and you join it back or you start knitting in the round again, you do your gusset decreases. Well, for this, the Fleagle heel, that heel turn, what she calls a heel turn, is actually on the back of the heel where a heel flap would be. So I thought that was interesting. And I did have Beau try these on. It kind of looks like it sits like this, so it looks really big, but it actually kind of sits on his foot more like this. So now you see it's not nearly as big. So I will say, even though this has been interesting, I really like it. And I think I'm going to do more toe up socks in the future because I have really enjoyed doing this Fleagle heel. It was pretty painless. I'll be honest, heel flaps are not really my thing, to be honest, but I have enjoyed this. So this is how far I made it. As you can see, it's basically, it's just a rib pattern is the majority of it, but it's fun because it lets you marl your colors together and it just looks really good. So, and I could have done this with Cookie Crumbs. And after midnight, I think Cookie Crumbs would go well with dappled or even purple leaf plum. You could do it with Swan white, or actually, and you could do any of the solids. Oh, with Swan white, that would look really good. Dappled with Swan white, hubba hubba. I like that. All the possibilities. So anyway, that is my bear paw socks. So, and they go pretty fast. I've gotten sidetracked by my other project. So I'm curious, how many of y'all, okay. Carol, so you have nerve pain, so the ability to make really loose socks. Okay, so you like them really loose too. I have to say, I have some, what are they called? That I made out of worsted weight yarn. I forget what they're called. Are they bed socks? No, I want to say cabin socks. Isn't that the name? The big, loose, scrunchy socks that are really cool. I do like those as well. So yes. Oh, do they not look as good online, honey? You're saying they look better in person. I need to post some pictures on social media as well of the socks. So yes, they are wonderful. So, and I don't know what I said. So that's what I think. But okay. So you don't wear them in shoes, Carol. That makes sense. Yeah, I think if you're going to wear your socks in shoes, it's definitely better to have them good and tight for sure. All right, so the other pattern that I got sidetracked by, I told you all I was going to knit this, and I was itching to cast it on. So last night, I cast on this sweater, am I showing it right? The broom sweater by Andrew Mowry. And I decided to go with the first size. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if y'all remember, I told you that I knit my gauge swatch with these cubics, the Knit Pro cubics. And I did not get a set of interchangeables for Christmas, but I'm not worried about it because I foresee a set of interchangeable cubics in my near future. I'm just saying. So because I didn't want to do magic loop, I cast on with my Chow-Goo shorties. This is the blue set. And I am basically, so I'm already making some modifications. I don't know if you can tell the difference between my neckline and this thick neckline on her sweater. I decided, since I'm going to, another modification that I'm going to make is that I'm going to make it short sleeved rather than long sleeved. So I don't really want the thick neckline. I think I want it to be lighter and shorter, and to have it, I don't know that it's going to be a summery top necessarily, because this is still, we're talking fluffy DK here. This is alpaca yarn. So it's, it's going to be thick and gushy, but I just think the smaller neckline with a short sleeve will, I don't know, it just sounded better to me. So I was going to start, I don't know if y'all remember, I'm doing the 3 colors, Mocha, cinnamon spice, and nutmeg. There's not a ton of difference between nutmeg and cinnamon spice on Fluffy DK. But I was going to start with Mocha at the top, but I decided to start with nutmeg at the top. And I don't know, I have not done any math to figure out how far I'm going to knit with this before I switch to, I'll go to cinnamon spice next. I may just play a guessing game. I mean, you can kind of guess, right? I mean, I figure I'll go to right about the underarms, and then once I separate for the sleeves, then I'll switch to the cinnamon spice, right? Sounds right to me. And yeah, so I am using Fluffy DK. So here is, can you see that? It almost looks a little bit like thick and thin. It's not, but that halo. I will say this, I'm loving knitting with this. I'm almost through the short row section, by the way. As soon as you're done with the collar, she has a short row section, very brief, like 18 rows with increases, but it follows a very specific pattern. Totally easy to do. I will say this for this Fluffy DK yarn, as much as I hate to say it because it's gorgeous. Oh, the squish factor. I don't tell you what. I would not recommend it for a beginning knitter or someone who is not yet a confident knitter. If you are an adventurous and confident beginner, by all means, go right ahead. But it's one of those things where, because of all of that extra fluff that kind of lays there, when you're knitting with it, sometimes it gets hung up and then you're torn between whether you rip it free or just leave it in there attached to the stitch. And so, and it can make it difficult to identify your stitches, especially if you're having to tink. I did not find tinking difficult with this, but I haven't had, it's not like I had to rip out a bunch or anything. I tink back a stitch just to make sure, okay, what's going on here with this stitch? So I tink back. And one time I tink back because I was like, oh, was that the double stitch that I just knit? And so I undid it. And, so very simple. And that one stitch at a time, tinking back, and that's totally doable. But yeah, so, if you're a beginning knitter who hasn't quite learned to recognize their stitches, then I would say maybe save it. Unless you're an adventurous beginner, then by all means do it. So yeah, I'm super happy with this. And I know I said I wasn't going to knit another sweater for a while, but to me, this isn't really, even though it's called the broom sweater, it's short sleeved. It's more like a t-shirt, right? And it's DK weight yarn. So I'm not in any hurry to finish this. I mean, I'll get through the short row section and then I'll knit on it as I feel like it. But it's not like I'm in a hurry to finish it. That's kind of just a pleasure project to let me knit with the Fluffy DK. I have to knit with my yarn, right? I can't be selling yarn that I don't know what it looks like or how it feels to knit with it. So yes, I have plenty of all the reasons. So let's see. Oh, that's okay. That's a good question, Valera. Yes. Oh, Laura, have you knit your husband's socks? I don't think I've seen you. I mean, you haven't shown us socks that you've knit him. All right. And, oh, Karen, no socks for you. Hey, Jana, I'm so glad you're here. So 42 euro. Okay. Oh, you did make him well, there you go. A patterned sweater. That should hold him over for a while. Unless he's like Bo. Anytime Bo sees me or Morgan knitting, he's like, what you knitting me? So I think he has almost as many knit things as I do at this point. No, maybe not quite. All right. Not quite. Okay. So moving on. All right. Shop update. In the newsletter, there are links to some products that will be going away after this weekend. One is Dying to Knit, the 3-month subscription. I'm not going to talk all about it today. I did last week. So I think it was last week. So if you missed last week, you might want to go back and hear about it. I will, if you signed up, then I'll be moving people in and out of the Facebook group probably later this weekend. I would do it right away, except after the live today, I'll ship out any last minute orders. I have a few. And then I'm going to be clearing out this room. I think I told y'all last week, Bo and I are painting in here tomorrow while the walls are still semi-bare. So we're going to paint in here, and then I'll be hanging up. Okay. Now, Bo will be hanging up some grid wall in here. And yeah, and we just figured it's much easier to do it now before wall brackets go up and all that good stuff. So it has to be done. So because of that, my computer and all that will be unattached from the wall. Plus I'll be busy painting this weekend. But then as soon as that's done, I'll be switching people in and out of the Facebook group for Dying to Knit. And then of course, our very first author is Harper Lee and To Kill a Mockingbird, which I'm thinking I might just pull that book out and have a read through again. It is one of my favorite books after all. So that's our first month. And don't forget, if you sign up, I only have 3 months. I'll do it 3 months at a time. But if you do the whole 9-month subscription next year, then you'll get an extra yarn goodie at the end of the year. So I've already had thoughts about that as well. All right. Planning, always planning. Also, Mocha Mousse, if you are interested in getting that pre-ordered, I will be dyeing that up next week. So I'll take that down by Sunday as well. All right. And then the new thing. So here's what happened. I'm wearing, you might notice, a Bonnor Beanie today. I have another one here somewhere. Yes. Which, so what inspired the colorway that I'm going to show you, and that's in your newsletter, is the fact that I will be taking some samples of the Bonnor Beanie with me to trunk shows. And so initially I was only going to dye up No Limits, dun, 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 in all its glory, on what I'm calling Trusty Super Bulky. So remember, Trusty means merino nylon. So this is the super bulky that I know and love. And it's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. It is a single ply, so it has a nice thick, it's a nice thick yarn, but it also has a bit of a sheen to it because it's single ply. And it's perfect for knitting up the Bonnor Beanie. And so initially, as I said, I was only going to knit up a pot, I was going to dye up one pot of this, and then I came to my senses and said, wait a minute, I know my people, and they're going to say, oh, are you going to dye it on anything else? So I did dye up just enough for one batch across my pans. And so it was limited number on each skein. Here it is on fluffy lace. Oh my goodness, that I would love to see that held together with, I don't know, Swan white or even like berry, and done in like the everyday slouchy beanie. Yeah, that would look awesome. Anyway, so I did a limited batch on across some bases. Here it is on fluffy sock. That I just saw someone ordered some Swan white. I don't know if they're doing Fleece Your Feet with this in Swan white, but it would look very, very good. I think with something like this. So I also updated, just to let you know, Swan white, because one of the things I've been talking a lot about marling yarns. And you can get a marled yarn where you've got 2 strands of 2 different colorways within the same yarn, but you can also marl yourself simply by holding together 2 strands. And the thing about Swan white that's so good is that it can really tone down or help kind of balance out a very colorful colorway like this in the overall project. But it also, in the finer details, when you're looking at your stitches, it can also kind of highlight the other colorway as well. So it's very versatile in that. So I don't think I put a link for Swan white in your newsletter. I realized after the fact, but Swan white has been put in on a lot of bases. And then, of course, No Limits, which has always been a super popular colorway. So I did do that. And then some of y'all snatched them up on a couple of the bases first thing this morning. So I put those on a dyed to order basis. I have to tell you this is, aside from the self-striping yarns, this is probably the most time-consuming colorway that I do, which is why I don't do it all that often. It just takes, the day that I did it, Morgan asked me, so what time? I was like well, I don't even think I was halfway through. She came out and she said, what time will these be ready to rinse? And I was like, maybe 1 o'clock. And then later on, she happened to come out. I was like, yeah, I might not be done dyeing these until 1 o'clock. So, because basically there are 18, no less than 18 dye powders used in this particular skein of yarn. And if you think about it, with all the combinations of those coming together as well, there's just about no color in the shop that won't look good with this. I mean, you could pair it, if you're doing socks, you could pair it with a bright orange, or even, there's not even really a neon green used, but because of the way that green and the yellow come together, you could pair it with a neon green and a light blue or a dark blue. Got some reds in there. Berry is usually very pronounced. I'm not seeing as much. Oh, there it is down here. It's kind of hidden in the cuff, but there's definitely some berry in there because I use that dye powder. So it's got all the colors. And so it coordinates nicely with pretty much any colorway in the shop. Even the winter collection colors, Teal, the Cows Come Home, and After Midnight. And I think that some of those on 1 or 2 bases have sold out, but I'll get those dyed up as well in the next couple of weeks. So, all right. Okay, Lori, so you did make him some socks. Well, he's got to have the quality yarn. So are you offering rewound yarn? I'm not sure what that means. Do you mean caked yarn? Is that what you're asking, Karen? Let me know. If that's the case, oh, there you go. Are you offering winding service? Okay, I have not yet. You caught me on the, I'm letting myself be put on the spot. I have not at this time offered that on the website, but I know that I need to. So I think I'm deciding what the price range should be. So I've kind of been warring in my mind. Is it something, well, I don't know. I'll just be honest with you. It's one of those things, customer service is extremely important to me. And so I'm toying with the idea of, dare I say it, offering it for free, because I think it's so important. Which I know on one hand, you might be like, well, but you're not offering it at all. Then again, it's a time consuming task. And when I was starting the business, there was no way that I could have kept up with all, depending on how many people wanted their yarn wound. So I'm getting to a point now where I think it's a little more feasible. So I may just offer it. If it's very important to you, before I decide and make up my mind, then just reach out and message me, and we'll chat, and I'll get you taken care of for sure. So, all right. I think that's all I have. So let's see what's coming up. We've got Distaff Day not next week. So I think that's in 2 short weeks. And then the week after that, I will be down at Knit and Stitch in Cocoa. So if you are local, I would love to see you there. That's always that is such a busy shop, and full of classes and fiber activities. And yeah, they are a fun, fast-paced group down there. I love it. So also, I did want to mention all of the links for the different things I talked about today are in the newsletter. So if you're not subscribed, you might want to sign up. I don't have a pop-up on the website yet that pops up when you come on to the website, because I'm a little iffy about that. When I go to a website for the first time, sometimes, most of the time you'll see, oh, sign up, get 10% off your first order. And I usually just X out of it because I don't know yet if I want that 10%. How about offering me that 10% later once I've had a chance to look around? So, and I don't always know if I want to sign up for your newsletter. And so sometimes its first reaction is just to X out of it. So I would encourage you to sign up for the newsletter. It's down on my homepage. If you just scroll down to the bottom, and it's not a long scroll, then on the bottom left, it just says, sign up for the weekly newsletter. And so far, that's all I've done is a weekly newsletter on Friday morning, just to let you know what I've been up to. That may change in the future. I don't know. We'll see. But in the meantime, that's all you get. Just one a week. So, oh, that's true. That's a good idea, Karen. Some people do it free if over a certain order value, and then graded for different weight yarn. Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I've seen some shops as high as $5 a skein, and I don't know. That's I'm not looking to. Obviously, I'm not going to get rich on winding yarn. I also, here's the thing. I don't enjoy caking my own yarn, to be honest. I find that I don't mind it so much doing it for other people. Yes, I have done it for people, and I don't mind that so much. And I don't know why that is, but I just know that I don't. So when I say, one of my perspectives kind of used to be that, caking your yarn is part of the whole knitting and fiber crafting experience. I think it's important for people to know how to do that. But I realize at the same time that there are no two people who are the same. And not only that, some of us may have joint issues or nerve issues or simply space issues and things like that. So I totally get that. So I think I will say this for now. If it's important to you to have your yarn wound, if you'll leave me a note in your comments, you can leave notes at checkout, then I will wind your yarn for you. Now I may miss it. I may miss your note and not send it to you. If that's the case, then, don't hesitate to email me and say, dude, what's up? I think I've been catching the notes pretty good, but yeah, anyway. All right, that's all I have for today. I hope that you all are having a great, this is that awkward week. So I hope you're having a great week, getting some rest. If you're off, some people are off between now and New Year's. And it's always, I remember, and I know Morgan was this way when she finished her semester, like a week into it, she was like, I don't know why I haven't gotten more done. And I was like, well, it's a letdown. You need to let your body rest and adjust. Because I always used to do the same thing. I would think, oh, semester break's coming up. I'm going to get so much stuff done. No, your body needs time to adjust. It needs time to rest and relax. So you need to give it that time. So I trust that you all are doing that. And for those of you who don't get that and are just having to go back into the swing of things, then I hope that you're doing okay. So, and so next week is New Year's. Any New Year's resolutions? I don't, I'm one of those people who doesn't really do New Year's resolutions. If there's something, I like to think if something's not working, then I fix it at the time. So I'll have to think about that. Let's all think about that between now and next week. Is there anything that you would like to change or focus on? Some people do a word of the year, something that they focus on. I know for me a while back, it was joy kind of became a word, but it wasn't at New Year's. It was in the middle of the year. And I knew that it was something that, okay, I have to find a way to have joy in my life again. And so for that time, and even now, that has really been important to me is finding joy in little things and daily. What can I do today to find joy? So think about that. Is there something in your life that you need to change? Because for some of us, that doesn't come easily. We get stuck in a rut and we just keep doing what we're doing. So this is always a good time of year to reflect and think, is there anything that I need or want to change? And then of course, in your fiber crafting, is there anything that do you set goals? Like I said, I typically set a knitting goal, but it's kind of, I think I can get this many done. It's not something that I really focus on and, I've got to get my 16th project done or I won't reach my goal. And I do that same with exercise and all of that. I have certain goals. And I do sometimes have to talk myself down. Okay, Carolyn, remember, it's a goal. It'd be nice to get there, but if you don't, is it the end of the world? Is this something that we're going to really let get us down? Or are we just going to keep marching on and doing what we can do? So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now. Okay. Oh, I like that, Carol. Use the caking feed to, oh, it's a good idea. Yeah. Did I tell you I priced an electric winder? The one that I want's like $600. But yeah, it would help me with self-striping yarn for sure. So, okay, I like that. I might do that. Do a small caking fee. And that's what that's for. I have Bo set it aside every single week in a you know, what do you call it? In a pot. So it'll be a virtual pot, but it'll be a pot, and we'll put it towards doing buying an electric winder. I like that. All right. Yes. Happy New Year's, Carol says. Thank you. Thank you all so much for being a part of this community, for being in the Swan City Stitchers. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. It means the world to me. Yeah. So, and I will see you next week, and I will see you in the Stitchers Facebook group. If you signed up for Dying to Knit, well, then I will see you in that group probably before too long as well. All right. Have a great day, everybody, and Happy New Year's to each and every one of you. Bye.